In this lecture, I'm going to talk about what's called the Creed of Union. So the Creed of Union follows the prior lecture on the Council of Ephesus. So the Council of Ephesus was in 431 AD, and the issue at this council was um, Mary, and the council affirmed that Mary is Theotokos, which is Mother of God. Okay, the council was responding to the Nestorian heresy, and the uh, main opponent of the heresy, the visible person, was Patriarch Cyril of Alexandria. Okay, so that's what has happened up to this point. This is 431. And so this has been, the Council of Ephesus has been a victory for the Alexandrian school of theology. So just that Alexandrian way of doing the theology. So in another lecture, I pointed out that these theologians had a high Christology. They had a Christology from above and focused very much on the unity of Christ. Now, the following so the following the Council of Ephesus, the school of the Alexandrian approach to theology was riding high, but clearly there was some problems because there was also defeat for the Antiochian school. But the school from Antioch, so the Antiochian theologians, so Antioch, their approach, which was more of a low Christology, a Christology from below, focus on the natures of Christ, was also valid. This was very much a biblical and traditional focus. And so there were efforts to reconcile these two approaches. And this is not simply just trying to solve a political problem. You're also trying to find a theology to reconcile the two broad trends in the New Testament. So the New Testament has both high Christology and low Christology, has a Christology from above and Christology from below. And these things are in tension in the New Testament. So this was a major problem for Christian theologians. So in 433, a man named Theodoret of Cyrus proposed what's called a creed of union. Okay, and so the idea behind this creed was to provide a statement that would accommodate both poles of the discussion, right, and would be truly reflective of what we have in the New Testament. As I've mentioned earlier, Patriarch Cyril was the main political force behind the Council of Ephesus, and so he found the Creed of Union acceptable. At least he accepted it. So let me just write, Cyril accepted the Creed of Union. He was also under some pressure from the emperor to do so, but he did accept it. He wouldn't have if he thought it was wrong. So, what does this Creed of Union have to say? Well, it speaks of. So we're talking about the Creed of Union now. It speaks of two natures in Christ, but also confesses one Christ, one Son, one Lord. Okay, so you get here the concern for two natures. That's it. You want to acknowledge that Jesus has two natures. He has a human nature and he has a divine nature. But also, you want to emphasize that that man, Jesus, who walked the face of the earth, who was one. He wasn't two things stuck together, glued together, and trying to walk around and keep himself in balance. So he had two natures, yet you can speak of him as one. Okay, so you accommodate the concerns of both schools of thought and also the tensions in the New Testament. The creed also says Theotokos, that's Mother of God, is rightly applied to Mary. Okay, so essentially it rejects an Nestorian heresy and says, look, the school of the Antiochian theological approach has no problem with Mary being understood as Mother of God, and they understood the implications of rejecting Theotokos. And then he proposes something here that's interesting, which is we can call it a double homoousios. So in the previous lecture, I spoke of this word homoousios as the catchphrase that came out of the Council of Nicaea in 325, and it just means that same substance. Okay, so the way it was used was that Jesus is of the same substance as the Father. Now, in the Creed of Union, it also is saying Jesus is of the same substance as us. Okay, so he shares the same substance with the Father as also with us. So he, in a sense, has these two natures. So this preserves the fact that Jesus is both human and divine. So here is, just see if I can write this out here. Okay, so we have, again, that's homoousios. So remember with Nicaea, Jesus is homoousios with the Father. Now, the Creed of Union is also using that word, that highly charged word, for saying Jesus is homoousios with us humans. Okay, so let me just put this here. Jesus is, and this reflects Nicaea. So this is the upshot of the Creed of Union. Okay, it's explicit about the two natures in Christ. Okay, yet it also is explicit about the unity of Christ. It accepts the theology of Mary, that is, that she is Theotokos. Okay, and then it introduces this language of this double homoousios, the fact that Jesus is homoousios both with the Father and with human beings. So one last point is that the creed was not universally accepted. So many people, especially of the Alexandrian theological school, found it problematic because of the talk of two natures. Okay, they felt that it split Christ unacceptably, but because Cyril was such a force, right, there was essentially peace in the land until he dies in 444. That's when Cyril dies. And so once he dies, the main political force keeping everything together, at least keeping the Alexandrian theologians at bay, um, is gone. And then from there, we'll see some more problems arise.